Hello everybody, I'm Roxy and this is recmebook&stuff. Today I bring you the DNF tag, which is a tag that I've seen around and I've seen a couple of videos, but yesterday I was listening to Brita Boulder's video. Yes, listening to it. That's what I do with most of BookTube. I hope no one is offended by that. I think a lot of us do it. Comment down below if you do that too. In any case, she did this tag and I loved it. I'm going to link her video down below, but the original creators are Scott and Nell from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot, and so I link their video down below as well. Very interesting questions. DNFing is a really not touchy, but like it's a part of a reader's personality. So let's get on with the questions. Number one, do you DNF? Yes, I've always done it. It's just that I never really thought about it until later on. And I guess the more conscious a reader I became, the more reluctant to DNF I became for a while, and now I'm back and like DNFing is completely fine. Number two, if you DNF a book, does it count towards books read for the month? I mean, yes, on Goodreads, or well, now I use the story graph, so I don't know how they count it. I do have a PDF spreadsheet also, and that also separates the finished, not finished, but I do talk about them here on my channel. When I used to use Goodreads, I would write DNF, explain my reasons sometimes. Sometimes I just would write DNF. But I guess there it would count. It doesn't bother me because although I do have a reading goal every year, this year was 100, that's not the most important part of my reading, even if I do have a numbers goal. I still like to add them onto the list of books I've checked out because I like to talk about why I DNF books. I do think a total valid review of a book is I couldn't get through this book and this is why. Number three, is there a difference between DNF and just putting it down for a bit? Yes, totally. For me, DNFs feel final, although that's with an asterisk. I think there is a spectrum of DNFing. So complete DNF, I'm going to get rid of this book. I'm never going to see it again. I don't want to even think about it or touch it. And then there is like, I'm putting it away, but then I'm restarting it. Or I'm putting it away for I don't know when. Or I'm just like, I'm going to go read this little book really quick and then I'll come back to this other book. So I think it is a continuum. For example, if you're multi-reading, there are some people that are multi-reading like 3 books and they read some of that book every single day, but a lot of multi-reading is just leaving books aside for a bit. So yeah. Number 4, what popular book have you DNF'd? I don't know. I remember Normal People by Rooney. I didn't finish that book and I'm so happy I didn't, because I tried to get into it twice, couldn't make it past the first 50 pages, and then I skimmed it. I read the end in case the ending made me want to go back to it, and no, I'm not going to get into that right here, but yeah, that was a really popular DNF. 5, what book do you wish you had DNF'd? So again, I DNF all the time, and ever since I was a young reader, if I wasn't feeling a book, I just wouldn't finish it. I would put it aside and forget about it, quite honestly. But I have had to read certain books for classes or for reviewing that I wish I could have DNF'd, but I wouldn't, because I like to read everything you are supposed to read for a class. I'm that kind of student. So for example, a book that I need to review called Waiting, I really hated that book and you'll see why in my review, but I wouldn't have done it because it was for a class. The same with Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. I really wish I wouldn't have finished that book, but we were reviewing it for the podcast. 6, do you ever reattempt to read a DNF? Has this ever been successful for you? So I guess not when it's an actual DNF, as in I don't ever want to see this book again, I'm going to get rid of it. But there have been cases where right at the moment I do feel like I might not ever like it, but still I might give it a shot. I feel like I'm very forthcoming about that. So for example, I read the first 30 pages of Dracula last year, but it was a bad time and it put me off reading it for a bit because I associated Dracula with that very busy, turbulent time, but then I knew I wanted to read it still. And then, for example, Normal People, I tried to read it once and I couldn't get into it, but I kind of still wanted to give it a shot some other time. So, you know, I think talking about the continuum of DNFing, then yes, you could say that I would reattempt it, but it's never happened that an absolute DNF I've returned to. And now, for example, there are 2 books that I've started this year that I'm not quite sure if they are DNFs or just putting them down for a bit. I need to reevaluate that, so who knows. 7. What do you do with books you DNF? I get rid of them. If I definitely don't want to read them, or if I feel like I might want to read them in a very distant future, I get rid of them. Not immediately. I mean, I wait to talk to you about them. As I said, some books, I don't know if they will be definitely DNFs. A recent example that I talked about in my Women in Translation wrap-up, link down below and in the eye as always, Gentleman Jack by Angela Steidle. And that one I don't see myself returning to in a long time. But I still have the inkling of like, maybe I will pick it up, so I don't want to get rid of that because it's also not such a ubiquitous book, and once I paid for it, like, I don't want to waste it. But I don't know, if it was a classic and someone else wants it and then I could get it for like 50 cents, I won't care. So, you know, it's all very up in the air. But the answer is that I don't keep books that I won't ever want to read or that I won't ever want to give someone else to read. Do you choose more or less risky titles because of your stance on DNF? No, I mean, I never pick up a book thinking, I don't think I will like this book, but I'm going to just DNF it. I can just do that. No. It's because I like physical books. I don't have such a great access to libraries anymore. I mean, my uni library, I guess with my uni library, I sometimes got books that, okay, this might be very dense or I might read only a couple of chapters of this. I would do that. But in general, especially with books that are narrative, either in terms of nonfiction or fiction, I don't take risks in terms of, oh, I'm just going to try this romance book. I'm going to buy it. I don't think I'm going to like it, but it's okay because I can DNF it now. Save exceptions for class, for reviewing, or for a specific challenge. I always go into books hoping I will like them and expecting to like them to different degrees. Of course, there are books that I feel like I'm going to absolutely love, and then there are books that I think, well, I think it's interesting, maybe I'm not going to adore it, but the themes are interesting to me. Also because although I know there is a case to be made for broadening your reading horizons, you have to understand that I'm interested in too many things, and my time on this earth is limited, as is all of us, and so I just need to prioritize. Who has time to read books that you think you're not going to fully enjoy? That's all I'm saying. And then number 9 is tag someone. This is a very old tag, so I don't think I can tag anyone, but consider yourself tagged. I mean, I did. Rita Bowler said the same thing, and I considered myself tagged, and I did it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please hit a thumbs up, please subscribe, and please share on the comments what are your DNFing policies, and if you have any strong feelings about it, or maybe not. Maybe you're just like, sometimes I DNF, sometimes I don't. It's not a big deal. That's also super valid. So yeah, see you next time.